Can you tell us more about yourself? And we're speaking about the curse of lovely.
The curse of
when
lovely.
is lovely not so lovely?
Okay. So, well...
Without giving too much away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, without giving too much away.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, my idea on this really, it's my own problem. It's been my sort of own life struggle, so I decided to write a book about it. Is that everybody thinks they would want to be called lovely. Oh, that lovely woman, that lovely man. Oh, you know, I wish I was called lovely. But for many people who are called lovely, that adjective takes a terrible price on them. It's like the price of nice.
Yeah.
What is the price of nice? And for many lovelies, they feel trapped in the expectations they have created in others, that they'll always say yes, always help out, you know, always be there, take the phone call late at night, do the cooking for the whatever, all that stuff, a whole variety of behaviours. They feel they have no options, that they can't say no. And after a while, that really begins to take a toll on you. And ultimately, it takes a toll on your health, because you're giving away your energy, you're giving away your time. When are you doing the looking after yourself things? And I think, you know, at the beginning of my book, I tell this, people are shocked by it, but I tell it in a funny way that, you know, I fell over and broke my arm, but I was so like, oh, I'm okay, don't worry about me, I'm fine.
With a broken arm?
Broken arm. Fell over at my cousin's barn dance. I'm fine. It's the school holidays, so I drive the kids around to their play, driving with the broken arm. I just thought, oh, it's badly bruised, because it wasn't like the bone wasn't sticking out. Even I'm not that stupid. You know? I had fractured the radius, which is the elbow joint. But anyway, it was really painful, and it was getting more and more painful. But I kept thinking, just carry on. I drove 200 miles to Somerset, stayed with a friend, with the kids, and then the final straw really was I went rowing on this trip to the friend, and she was like, Jacqui, you said you've hurt your arm, you don't have to take your turn at the oars. And I'm like, no, I'll take my turn at the oars.
Goodness.
And finally, I go to A&E, and they're like, when you've broken it, you know, when did you do this? And I was like, 10 days ago.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like, you know, you've got to start looking after yourself. And that was the line for me. But even though that's a kind of crazy story, the more people I tell that story, people have their own version. People collapse at work, people have colds and flu that they don't deal with, and then it becomes pneumonia and they're suddenly in hospital. It's almost like everyone has the version of that, not looking after themselves. And that's just one part of this curse of lovely. The other is, you know, really all this stuff about how hard it is to say no.
But you know, why do you think, sorry,
Why do you
think it's so hard
Yeah.
for a person to say no?
It comes down to kind of what our beliefs are, our thoughts and beliefs. And beliefs often come from childhood. And I talk about in my book, you know, there are two types of sort of curse of lovely, really. There are people who avoid anger, who are very frightened of conflict because maybe they see they can't bear. If they say, oh, I can't do that. And there's anger in that person's eyes. They're almost phobic about anger, so they avoid it, and then it becomes a habit which you can't break. Then the other side of the coin is the people pleasers, who are kind of addicted to approval. But to me, there are two sides of the same coin. Like, I'm both.
I have to say that I'm both as well.
And many people are. Some people have one is more dominant than the other one, but they are the same side of the coin. So like you become addicted to the approval because that's so much nicer than the anger. And then again, suddenly you find yourself trapped and suffocated, and all what you view are negative emotions you shove down inside, like your anger often, your own anger. You're scared of other people's and your own. You shove it down inside. It bubbles away like a volcano, and then it will erupt. Of course it will. It has to go somewhere. And then all the people around you who thought you were lovely, they are so shocked.
They're like, oh my
God, I thought you were nice. You just shouted at me. And then, of course, you sense
feel
the disapproval.
miserable.
So it just perpetuates the cycle. And you think, oh, I must be super nice now because I shouted at them.
Make up for it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Jacqui, everybody wants a friend like that.
Lovely.
Everybody wants a lovely friend. You know that person that you can call any hour of the day or night. Oh, go and pick up my kids from school. Go and do. Everybody wants you as their friend, and that must make you feel good because you're just so needed.
Such a good point. And that's again what I say to people. You have to be aware of like what I call the hidden gain. So at the point where you're going, oh, you know, all these people are asking me to do things. They're ringing me late at night. You have to think, okay, why did this suit you once? And it's because I feel really popular, I feel really loved, I feel really liked. And then you have to dare very small steps at a time to begin to change that behaviour at the point where you realise, almost like this is killing me. I mean, I got away with a broken arm, but, you know, a friend of mine is researching a book on cancer. She calls it the cancer personality. I mean, don't want to blame anyone who gets cancer, obviously. But many doctors will say this kind of self-sacrificing to the point of martyr person. They so neglect, they're out of touch with their own body. You begin to not even know what your body is telling you because you override all the signals.
Wow.
And you don't listen to yourself.
I think as well,
You know.
I think as well, I don't know, don't you think that people like that, sometimes other people actually take advantage of them?
That's I think this lady was saying, that, you become,
but then
you create their expectations and then they exploit you. Well, not all of them do, but certain ones do. Yeah, can you get my kids again? Oh, you're so great, please do this again. Ringing up late at night, oh, my boyfriend hasn't returned my call. They absolutely, you become exploited at work, by your children, by friends. And I always say, maybe we're not all curse of lovelies, but I've yet to meet a person who is assertive in all areas of their life. We all have one area where, because we're not, our confidence is lower about are we loved and liked, and that might be in our relationships, with our friends, at work, or with our children, or with maybe our parents and siblings. I've yet to meet that person who really deals well with all of those areas. You know, a lot of my clients, they're amazing at work, they manage 100 people, they're super assertive. They are doormats to their kids.
It's true.
Or they're doormats to their partners. And it's like, I think, can you use those skills you use at work with your children? They kind of go pale. And I will say, what's the fear? I try and uncover as a psychologist, unpick what is your fear. And of course the fear there is they won't love me because they feel guilty because they're a working mum, especially the us poorer working mums. A lot of guilt. So it's like, oh, I buy them everything. I take them shopping on Saturday. I buy their love. You were talking about that earlier with the Christmas presents. Buying their love. It's not a good message to your kids in a way. It's not. It's kind of like, I love you because you're my child, because of who you are, your qualities. I will give you an hour of my time on Christmas Day to make something out of a box or play with you, rather than, oh, I will get you the iPad. You know, I would say that's better.
Well,
but it's difficult, it's not easy. None of this stuff is easy. I don't pretend it's easy.
No.
So I've got lots of really practical tips for what I say, like, you know, how to say the gracious no. So for those of us, all of us really, who don't want to be disliked or don't want to be unpopular, there are ways of saying no. There is a way of buying time so that you don't have to say no in the moment. Because if you're a beginner like me, you know, like you're trying to break the habit, it's so difficult. Really, you have to help yourself. You know, so you buy time. You say, thank you so much for asking me to pick up your lovely child. That's nice. That's nice to hear. But I really have to check my diary, or check with my husband, or check with something which is away from the moment. And then you say, but I will email you, I'll text you in an hour. And then you go, so sorry, we've got the dentist. So sorry, I can't do it. Don't lie. Actually, never lie. I don't advocate lying. No. But actually just say, sorry, I can't this time.
We are talking about the curse of lovely. When is too lovely not so good for you, or not even lovely for your health in some cases. And we've got our lovely psychologist here, Jacqui Marson, talking about the curse of lovely. Now, Jacqui, you've got a game for us that's making me quite nervous. Because the producers would not let me know what this game is about, so I'll leave it with you. You take it away.
Well, it's just so I wrote some quiz questions for you all to see whether you have got the curse of lovely, and maybe in which section of your life. Because like I said, you know, no one is assertive in all areas of their lives. And I think we all have one area, one relationship really maybe we struggle with. So, I don't know whether you're all going to answer it. I've written 4 questions and they are themed to Christmas. I thought I'd make it a bit seasonal. Okay, so now I know you haven't all got children. So I say like your child, or maybe your godchild or nephew or niece, asks for an expensive gift for Christmas, which is more than you want to spend. What do you do?
Who wants to go first?
You had this in the first section of it, didn't you?
If it's more than I want to spend, I would try a little bit of negotiation first. See if I can bring them down a little bit. But if they really, really, really want it, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm not sure if I would say yes. If it's very expensive, I don't think so.
Because that thing you were saying before about debt.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, but you're
I
always...
wouldn't put myself in that situation.
I'm guessing this is Kim's area of lovely, that she can't say no to her kids. I think she's a very assertive lady, but I think her weak spot is her kids. Anyway, okay. You have no trouble of saying no to the present, the over-expensive present. You would struggle with that one.
Yeah, I would struggle.
You would have no trouble really saying to the boss, come on, let's find a way. I can make, you sort of saying no to that, but you two would struggle to say no to that. The relative, oh my goodness, everyone is going to have that relative for Christmas dinner. But obviously, because family is important to all of you, and that's maybe the hardest one to about. It's about setting boundaries, isn't it? It's about where we feel comfortable setting limits.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's okay, but there's this wonderful phrase, setting limits sets you free. It's good for you. It's quite good modelling for your children. That, this is where I stop, this is where you start, this is what I need. And, not hard and fast rules, but almost like each one on its merit for your own health, well-being and happiness.
So what would you say are the tips? Because I'm sure there's people that are watching right now that are thinking, okay, I fit into that one. In fact, I fit into all of the examples that you gave.
Yeah.
What on earth am I supposed to do now? How do I say no?
Okay, right, these are my top... Let's say the top 3 tips, really. So the one I'd started talking about before, buy yourself time. Really, if you struggle to say no, then never say a yes or a no in the moment. Because you're always going to say yes, really. You're going to go, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll have them. Yes, I'll da. So it's kind of that thing, but win a bit of distance. Or if it's on the phone, say, I need to call you back. I need to check with something, my diary, my family, check with myself. My schedule, that's completely reasonable. And then say, I will get back to you, give them a time or a day and stick to that. Don't then avoid it, which is what a lot of people do. And then that's fine, that gives you time to, like I say, I think it's bad to ever lie. Don't lie, because then you'll feel guilty and caught out. But you can even say something like, I've been neglecting myself and my health. I'm really trying to say no to more things. You can say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pass on this one. And then, joining in with that, I designed this thing which people love called the gracious no. Because why a lot of people can't say no is because they don't have the language. They think only horrible, angry, aggressive people say no, like no, which is horrible. So the gracious no has 3 stages, and it might include that buying time, or it might be when you come back. So part 1, you thank them for whatever it is they've asked you to do, even if it's crazy. So like, Mum, thank you for inviting great Uncle Alfred to my Christmas lunch. That's really kind of you, Mum, to not want him excluded, because that's probably where it's come from, isn't it? And then is the kind of thing, however, I just haven't got the space, or my child hates him, or I don't know, whatever, I just haven't got, or just no, I can't do it this time. And then part 3 is the throw forward. However, why don't we take him out to lunch in the new year?
Right, okay.
Give them another one. Give them, but only if you mean that. Okay. So like the friend texts you who you never want to see again. She says, hey, hey stranger, we're going to meet up for a drink. And you think, I don't want to see that person again. Don't then say, thank you so much for asking me. I can't this time, but let's get together in a month. If you really don't mean that, don't say it. But for a lot of people, you do, it's just you're too busy at the moment. So do a throw forward.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the gracious. And then we feel happier with that.
Yeah. Then everyone feels happier with
Everyone feels happy because it has a good energy about it. The thing is, people confuse saying no with negativity. They are completely different things. Negativity is a kind of mindset and attitude where people are just miserable and going, mo, negative. No is about a boundary, which is about, I have the right to look after myself. It's about kind of how you sense your own Bill of Rights. I have the right to say no. I have the right to look after myself. I have the right to change my mind. Because you might ring someone up and say, I said yes to your kid's concert. It's gone crazy now with Christmas. I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to say no. But my friend wants the tickets, or can I sell the tickets for you? That's the throw forward. And now that sounds all right, doesn't it? You're just being honest.
I love that. The right to say no.
Yes, sorry, I should have said, what I write in my book is that we have got our own individual human bill of rights, our individual bill of rights as women, as people. It's not just women who suffer from this. And they're like, I can't remember them all. There are like 9 personal rights, but one of them is I have the right to say no. I have the right.
You're so assertive.
I have the right to put my own needs first, some of the time, because the curse of lovelies will never put them first.
Yeah.
And what I do in the book, I do, it's a kind of cognitive behavioural therapy thing. You make your own hierarchy of fear. And you have, for what I call behavioural experiments. Behavioural experiment is where you do something different. So the hierarchy of fear, and mine is in the book, and at my 10 at the top, the most scary is, I can't remember what it is, but it'd be something like saying no to my parents, because that goes back, a bit like you, about the relative. I couldn't say no to that. That's so historic. Got to do what mum says. But number one was for me, I can't remember what it was, like maybe saying no to new clients that I can't take on. That was maybe the simplest. So I would start experimenting with that, and I would do the gracious no. New client rings up. I always thought, I've got to take them on. I feel so sorry for them. I'd say like, thank you for ringing with me. That's such a brave thing to do. I'm fully booked at the moment, but here are 3 other numbers of really good therapists I recommend. Like, hey, that wasn't so difficult. And then you do one little step, you get very empowered. And then your fear that the people will be angry or they'll feel let down or whatever doesn't come true. That was just what you cooked up in your mind. That was what we call your catastrophized image, that they'll be angry or usually they kind of go, oh yeah, fine. Even quite big ones like, oh, I'm really sorry I can't come to your birthday celebration, but can we do something next week? People go, yeah, sure. I mean, kind of good friends, people who care about you, they're not really going to give you a hard time. And there's this difference between letting someone down and disappointing someone. It's not your responsibility. Their emotion, like they are disappointed, that is their emotion for them to take care of.
Right.
So you have to separate, you know, what is my responsibility? Well, it's kind of looking after myself and being a decent human being. But if they are disappointed because I can't do something, I don't have to put that right. A lot of Curse of Lovely is about, I've got to keep everyone happy.
So
I can't.
That is a very interesting
Yeah.
comment there. How do you distinct the two? Because if you're used to thinking, oh my gosh, I need to deal with that disappointment, I need to deal with the fact that they're upset, how do you deal with that?
Again, you dare to experiment. But that thought, to hold that thought in your mind, I am not responsible for other people's emotions. And that's another one of those rights. I have the right not to be responsible for other people's emotions, except maybe your children, because they're your dependents. And therefore you don't want to make them cry, or you know.
No.
But even then, if you say, we can't afford the iPad, I'm so sorry, what else, how can we save for it? And they have a tantrum and they cry, they have to learn to cope with disappointment, because that's a life lesson. That's a really important life lesson. You then feel maybe guilty as a parent, but you don't really have to. No. That's their emotion to learn to deal with.
I completely agree.
And people in the world who are disappointed, or that is theirs to, you just do what you can.
I think you
It's
said
not going to make you a
something-
bad, selfish person.
Yeah, you said something really nice there that actually, you know, something just came here into my mind. Because I think sometimes you don't want to hurt someone because maybe you've been hurt.
Totally.
So you don't want the person to feel the same thing that you have felt. So you want to avoid that.
Exactly. I mean,
protect them.
lovelies are often very sensitive, compassionate people. At the end, chapter 11, I say what we want is, we don't want to not be lovely, but we want to be lovely, with choice. So, and I find when you can say no, your yes has more meaning. If we can't say no, our yes has no meaning, because we say yes to everyone. But if people know we really want to go to their birthday party, we really want to do this because we can say no to others, then it's real love. And I find the more I learn to say no, I've been stepping forward with so much more giving and love. Isn't that amazing?
More time to say the right
Because I choose to. I've got the time and energy.